Hi everyone, I'm Rincey and this is Rincey Reads, coming to you from a very odd, harsh lighting situation angle. Today I'm going to be showing you all of the unread books I have on my physical TBR. I thought this would just be kind of fun to do. As I mentioned in my 2023 goals, I think. I actually don't remember which video I mentioned this in, but basically I have around 27 books on my unread physical TBR. Thought it'd be fun to go through them all. You have seen some of these if you watched my video where I talked about what books I purchased and how much money I spent in 2022, but you will not have seen all of these yet because I've received stuff as gifts. I've been sent things as publishers. And the other thing I wanted to say is that even though I own these books, that doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to read them. I have no problems whatsoever with giving up on books. So yeah, let's just get into the books that I own. The number 27 might be a little bit off, but it's pretty close to what I own. So the first thing, I have a feeling there's going to be like background sounds of books falling quite a bit. So the first thing I'm going to mention is that I do have this Zora Neale Hurston box set. So the books in here are Dust Tracks on a Road, Their Eyes Were Watching God, the complete stories, which I'm guessing is a complete collection of her short stories, Seraph and on the Suwannee, Every Tongue Got to Confess, Tell My Horse, Moses, Man of the Mountain, Mules and Men, Jonah's Gourd Vine, and Mulebone. So these books are beautiful. This box set is beautiful. I'm not going to go through and show you the cover on all of these, even though that probably would be of interest to you. But since I'm going to be reading all of these books this year, just keep an eye out for my wrap-ups and you'll get to see at least one per month. And now the newest book that has been added to my collection is Abbott 1973. So I read the first volume of Abbott maybe 2 years ago at this point, and I really, really loved it. And I genuinely thought it was like a standalone, like single volume series, or I keep thinking like short term, limited term. I kept thinking short term series, and I'm like, that's not it. It was like a limited run situation. But then in the comments of the video where I talked about Abbott, someone was like, there's actually another volume out. So my niece very graciously gave this to me for my Christmas present, which I'm very excited to read. Okay, now all of the other books I do not have in any sort of order. They're just sitting in a pile. And so I'm just going to pick them up and show them to you. So first I have Vera Kelly Lost and Found by Rosalie Knecht. This was sent to me by Tin House, and I've read the first two books in the Vera Kelly series, and I really enjoyed them a lot. And so I'm very excited to read the third book in the series. This is a historical fiction mystery, or historical mystery, I suppose would be the correct term. You are following a character named Vera Kelly. In the first book, she works for the CIA. In the second book, she becomes basically a private detective, and I think in this one, she's still working as a private detective. This book takes place in 1971. The previous ones took place in the 1960s. But these are just kind of like interesting. It's like literary historical mystery. Which is like, those three genres are definitely things that I'm into. Next, I have After the Lights Go Out by John Vircher. This was sent to me by Soho. This follows, I think it's like an MMA fighter who is mixed race and kind of having to deal with like family drama and like also like trying to get back into the ring after being suspended. Spoilers, I've started the audiobook for this one and I'm really enjoying it a lot. So you will definitely hear more about this in my January wrap up. Next, I have The Blood Trials by N.E. Davenport. This is one that I received from Harper Voyager. This is, I think it's supposed to be young adult fantasy. Like, I've heard people categorize this as just like adult or general fantasy, but I've also heard other people refer to this as young adult fantasy. I'm not 100% sure what it is. Or not fantasy, like SFF. I think this is actually science fiction. This is one that I will definitely be getting to sooner rather than later because I got this sent to me in February of last year, and so we're coming up on the 1 year mark. So this one will get at least tried out. I remember reading the first couple like pages or like the first chapter of this book and really enjoyed the writing style, so we'll see. Vengeance is Mine, All Others Pay Cash by Eka Kurniawan, translated from Indonesian by Annie Tucker. Again, I mentioned this one in my like what books I bought video, and this is one I saw at a used bookstore while I was on vacation in California, and I've read other books by Eka Kurniawan and enjoyed them, so I decided to pick this one up. Swimming Back to Trout River by Linda Ru Fang, also picked up during that trip. I genuinely don't know that much about it other than it takes place in China, and I think it's like takes place in the 80s. or 90s during the Chinese Cultural Revolution. Don't know much more than that. Bone Fire. This is another book in translation, also picked up during that trip. It takes place in Eastern Europe, and I think it's also a fantasy book. It deals with like real life events, but also potentially fantasy. I could be wrong on that. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like the sentence that caught my attention, I remember when I picked this up, it says like the Bonfire is a political gothic carried along by the menace and promise of a fairy tale. So like I remember picking this up and being like, I'm getting sort of like Vita Nostra vibes from this book because it's like Eastern European, kind of based in reality, but also like some level of like fantasy, but also something dark and sinister happening. Will it actually have those vibes? I don't know. Also, Mother Country by Jacinda Chounce I'd also picked up during that trip. This is one that I picked up because I'd heard really good things about Saint Monkey. I haven't read it myself, but I wanted to give this author a try, and they had this, and the cover caught my attention. Thorn Puller by Hiromi Ito, translated by Jeffrey Ingalls. Honestly, I was sent this one by the publisher, Stonebridge Press, and I'm not gonna lie to you, didn't know too much about it, but I always get really excited whenever I can pick up like a book in translation, or like a publisher reaches out to me and wants to talk to me about a book in translation. I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll give it a try. It says, in The Thorn Pillar, the author explores the absurdities, complexities, and challenges experienced by a woman caring for her two families, her husband and daughters in California, and her aging parents in Japan. So that is also a theme I can relate to. Shutter by Ramona Emerson. This was sent to me by Soho as well, and I'm very lucky to have gotten this because I think this was nominated for like the National Book Award, I want to say, and now I feel like it's on everyone's radar, or a lot more people's radar, so very excited to pick this one up. So I actually started this one last year, but I put it down because like it wasn't really working for my brain. You are following this character who I don't remember which tribe she is a part of, potentially Navajo, and she actually works as a forensic photographer for the police department in Albuquerque, and like she also like sees ghosts or something along those lines, like spirits, things like that, and so it like basically helps her gather more information about the crimes that are taking place than you typically would be able to, or like the spirits and things like that like lead her to find more evidence and things like that. And so I think it's like partially her working as a forensic photographer, and partially also just like her dealing with the consequences of like being in tune with spirits, which doesn't always go well. How to Turn into a Bird by Maria Jose Ferrada, translated by Elizabeth Breyer. This was sent to me by Tin House as well. One, the cover, amazing. Two, work in translation, also into that. In this story, you're apparently following this character named Ramon who gets a job to look after like this Coca-Cola billboard in Santiago, Chile, and then he decides to make this billboard his home. And then you're also following his 12-year-old nephew, and as he's dealing with like his peculiar uncle and the circumstances around it. And I think it's also a little bit about their relationship potentially. Also from Tin House, I got The Dream Builders by Ondrilla Mukherjee. This one follows a character who lived in the United States for a number of years, but after their parents pass away, they end up moving back to India. Oh no, it's after her mother passes away. She moves back to India and lives with her father, and it's kind of like the reckoning that happens when you move back home to a place that you haven't been in a really long time that has been through major changes. Sinister Grave by Marcy R. Rendon is part of the Cash Blackberry Mystery series. I have read, I think, 2 other books by Marcy R. Rendon, and I really, really enjoyed them. Cash is a Ojibwe character living in Minnesota in the 1970s, and I just love her as a character so much, and so I'm very excited to read this one. Also from Soho, I was sent What's Coming to Me by Francisca Padilla. I don't know that much about this one. I think this is young adult. Yeah, it's Soho Teen is the sub press behind it. And you are following a character who works like her family's ice cream stand at like a seaside town. The ice cream stand that she works at, she like doesn't want to be working at, but she desperately needs the money. But like one day it gets held up, and after that like rumors start that there's like extra money hidden on the property or something along those lines. And so she goes looking for it with her friend and stuff like that. And so yeah, I don't know if this is one that would necessarily be my jam, but it was just like sort of sent to me unsolicited, and I was like, it's Seems interesting. I'll be willing to give it a try. Next up, I have Bitter Orange Tree by Joka Al-Hardy, and this was translated from the Arabic by Marilyn Booth. Honestly, don't know too much about it, but there have been a couple people I feel like that I've seen who have said that they read it and enjoyed it. It follows an Omani woman who is studying at a British university, and I think it follows her as she like tries to build a life there and make friends and things like that, but like stuff from her life back home and all that stuff also complicates things and all that jazz. So, yeah, it seems like something that I would be into. So, I decided to give it a try. I got Debating Darcy by Sayan Tani Dasgupta, and this was sent to me by Scholastic. Do I just willingly take any sort of Pride and Prejudice retelling that is sent my way? Yes, I do. In this version of the retelling, you are following a character named Leela, who is part of the debate team. And what is the Darcy name? Feroz Darcy is also a debater, but he is at like a rival school, which is like this elite prep school sort of situation. So I'm here for all the Pride and Prejudice retellings. And then the final book on my list is The Memory Librarian by Janelle Monáe. And I actually went and saw Janelle Monáe do like a event when this book was published here in Chicago, and it was fantastic. And so got a copy of the book with the event. Still have not read it yet. This is a science fiction sort of imagining that kind of goes along with like the stories that she tells with her albums and stuff like that. This is an anthology that features a lot of different writers. And so, yeah, I'm just like intrigued to see what this is like and all that jazz because I'm a fan of Janelle Monáe, the musician, and Janelle Monáe, the actress, and Janelle Monáe, the storyteller in general. But I have this a lovely anthology to now check out. So, those are all of the books. Let me know down in the comments below if you've read any of the books that I showed here today and if there's ones that you think I should be prioritizing or maybe deprioritizing. Because yeah, I have no strong opinions about any of these outside of the fact that most of them are like in genres that I would enjoy. But other than that, I don't really know if I'm going to like these or not. So yeah, that's all I have for now and thanks for watching.